Hey guys, what's up? Coming at you again with another video of mine. I thought I'd give you another time to talk, kind of a little bit, but like just, what happened to me over the last week or so. So, biggest thing that happened to me this week was that I went to see Solo, a Star Wars story, which was nice. It was a very good movie. Well, yeah. It was good to a point. I did a video on this on my other channel. You can go over there and find that out. But I did get a couple things which I did like. I got these two things, which, just to put them out there, they're quite cool. They're at the Odeon Covent Garden, which I went to. Very cool. But don't worry, this isn't like a review or anything. But like, I wanted to go into a bit more about the topic of fandom. In a sense of what it means to be a fan of something, because it's very difficult to go into something like that with expectations of what you want the movie to be, or not just a movie, but anything that has a fan base or something that you love dearly. Now, with me, Star Wars is always a bit of a different fan base set aside from others, in the sense that, one of the most famous things I heard was that with Star Wars and Star Trek have one thing similar. That the people who hate Star Trek and Star Wars the most are its fans, because they are more loyal than anything before. Which is a bit of a problem with fans, of certain things like that, because when you're a fan of a show or a movie or anything of that caliber, you put yourself expectations in terms of what you want the story to be. It doesn't matter who does it. It doesn't matter what happens. You yourself as a fan set yourself that kind of expectation of what you think is deserved of that story. Like the whole thing with Solo, a Star Wars story, is that most hardcore fans didn't really want it or care for it, because Han Solo is a character that we know a good enough amount, but not enough to deserve his own movie. Now, I'm not a hardcore Star Wars fan. I'm a fan, not a hardcore one. I'm not one of those people who hates all the new movies coming out, or that despises the idea of doing one movie every single year. I mean, I grew up in the year of prequels, so I'm more than happy for movies like this to come out where they're not going to be super great. I'm not going to agree with everything about them, but the fact that they're good is fine with me. But that's kind of a problem with that, because for a lot of people who have grown up with Star Wars, in the sense is that they have had decades of it. In the sense that they've had three movies to build up this entire universe, and then three other ones that ruined it to a certain extent. But the whole weird things about it is that with the new movies coming out, is that the fandom has kind of split, over the years. That it's become the super fans and then everything else, and that's just not happened to Star Wars. That's happened to a lot of things, where you get the normal average fans, people who have seen a TV show on occasion, who still pay attention to it like I do with some shows of mine, or I have seen the movie maybe once or twice. Not big fans. I mean, I know a lot of stuff in the sense of most of my fandom for anything nerdy has just been me going on Wikipedia and trying to find stuff, because that's the whole point. But then you get the super fans, those who have bought actual memorabilia for things like that. People who've gone to the movies to see that movie 5 or 6 times to analyze everything. Those who have carefully watched the TV shows, in order, in perfect sync, in absolute detail, to make sure they get everything right, and also to make sure that the writers get everything correct. Because the one thing they don't want is to have their characters ruined. Now, the problem with that kind of idealistic way of fandom is that it makes it difficult for anything, to be more creative, and also to, pay homage to fans. So I'll try a way to explain this. It's a way of making sure that when it comes to things like that, you're not going to win with fans, because you're just not. One example I have is that I am a massive Doctor Who fan. Doctor Who is my jam. It's been my favourite show over years. And it's a show that has smartly, almost more or less, gone through the ideas of change. The idea that, the fact that most nerdy programs don't do that. The fact that Doctor Who did or still does is quite amazing. And what recently happened was that, if you do remember a year ago when Jodie Whittaker became the new Doctor, there was an outcry from the fans. Or at least that's what I mean, an outcry from the hardcore fans. Now, I am a hardcore fan of it a lot, but I was okay with it. But it's more in the sense of like what they expect of the show to carry on in terms of tradition, but also keeping something new. You know, the idea that whenever the Doctor gets regenerated, they have their expectations of who they think should have it. You know, what they expect them to be like, what they expect them to wear, what they expect them to do. And then when they actually cast the person, it ruins it for them because then their idea is not, taken upon them, which is difficult as a fan because everyone has their own ideas. You know, everyone has their own goals, their own creative ways to make it their show. And when the writers who actually do have control don't go your way, or their way, to an instance, they get mad. This is like, why should the Doctor be a woman? Why should it be this actress? Why should it be someone like that? And, because that's always the case. I had no problem with being a woman. I was just, afraid of it being like, it shouldn't have to be. That was my only concern with the whole picking women or do anything with that thing. I didn't give a crap about, like, oh, who should the next Doctor be? I care about the fact that, like, pick the person who is good for the job, and she's good at the job. Or she will be when I find out. That's always been what I care about in terms of my fandom. My creative, idealistic, whenever I imagine, episodes of the TV shows that I watch, like Doctor Who, Flash, all that crap. Or like the movies that I watch, like Star Trek and Star Wars, I'm not a massive nerd, by the way, I'm just a big nerd. But, like, I understand the sense of, like, I have my own ideas, but then so did they. And it's not about, like, whether, like, it's the same ideas or not. It's whether they do that idea right. In the sense of, like, if I get the gist of what they are going to do, in the sense of, like, I get the direction of what they have an idea for, I'll be fine with it, so long as they actually execute it well. Because a lot of times it doesn't work. I've seen a lot of things where the idea was solid and great, they just didn't execute it as well as it should have. Because trying to create something off the top is hard, It's so difficult, and it's just, it's... Anyone who's ever tried to write a story or do anything based on characters that people love is, I owe huge respect to, because you just cannot win. One good example of a scenario you can't win is the last Star Wars movie, The Last Jedi, which I enjoyed. But the one thing I got there was that I got the direction it was going through, about halfway through the movie, in the sense of, like, you could understand what the pace was going to be like, based on how the fans reacted to the previous two movies with The Force Awakens and Rogue One, the way that they wanted the direction to go. You could sort of tell how, they listened and they thought, okay, let's do it this way. Let's not go, typical, that all they do the same things that we do all the time. Let's go something different. And for a lot of people, it was fine. But for a lot of hardcore fans, it didn't work because it wasn't their thing. Which is, you just can't win. That's the whole problem. You just cannot win with that because you're going to annoy someone. I wouldn't be surprised if, like, people at Star Wars would be super mad right now from all the crap they've had to receive because of the fact that for the last few years they've tried to give people Star Wars movies and they've just ruined it. Super fans have just effectively, crapped on any idea that they have, which is always going to be a problem with fandom. There's positives and negatives to it. The positives are immense in the sense of, like, it's a community. You get to talk for hours with other people who love the program or movie that you love so much. You get to, see the impact that it has on the actual creators themselves, how much they have an input in their fandom. The idea that it brings together so many stories, it brings together so many ideas and so much inspiration that it's amazing. The problem with it is that, the one big problem with fandom is that it can be too much, and that the expectation of it can ruin it. Because if you just don't agree with it, then you're not going to win. That's one thing that every writer, any comic book writer or any nerdy writer who decides to write something about science fiction or fantasy or anything based on that, there's always going to be someone who, thinks they could do it better and then just, shits on it for doing random things. But, that's just the problem. You're not going to. But, in the end, all you can be is a fan. That's the one thing about fandom which I recommend for everybody, is that you have to be careful with what you see in terms of your own ideas. Because you're going to have them. Everyone has their own ideas or inspiration or thoughts that they think they could do better. But the problem is that they're not actually there. They're not in the writer's room. They're not in the on a desk actually writing the stuff that you're about to watch. But you have to be careful in the sense of like, for the people who are actually writing, this is their dream, and that their ideas might actually be something worth watching or worth paying attention to, because they really put their heart and soul into it. It's not blind ambition. It's always careful in the sense of like, whenever it comes to stuff like that, I don't criticize things because of the fandom in the sense of like, oh, they should have done it this way because that's what it was like then, or the character development should have been that. I look at it in the sense of, does it structure right? Is the character development, as a whole good enough for a show? Is the actual writing make any sense? That's what you should look out for, especially TV shows, because I've seen them. I've seen TV shows where they do that, where they just don't actually put that much thought into making a structure and rely heavily on the actual, content-wise of what the characters are to carry for the whole show. That can lead to like mini filler episodes or just things that just don't matter, which fans get angry about. So that's that's one of the things I think you should take away with like things like Solo, and fandom in general, is that you got to make sure that like when you're a fan, and if you like something or you don't just assume that what you have is going to be great, because trust me, everyone's full of a good idea eventually, but it's not the only one. And just because they didn't do yours does not mean it sucked. There have been tons of stories where I have not agreed to them, to the goal they were going to go to, but I was like, okay, fine, you still did it. You did it well enough, so I'll be fine with it. Just always keep your fandom in check, because super fans will always try to ruin it, even when they don't mean to. I know it's a sad and weird topic to talk about, but that's one of the things I wanted to do, which is just like remind people that like as a fan, you have an obligation to be nice. Well, not an obligation, but like just be mindful that this is a program that you love and you don't want to go away, or a movie franchise that you love dearly, and that you can criticize it on its story merits and the way it's actually run, but don't talk crap on people just because they wanted an idea that they think was good and just you don't like. You just can't. It's bad way of doing it. Well, anyway, that's been my video right now. Like and subscribe if you want to see more. I have other channels somewhere. I'll try and see if you can. Hopefully you'll know them by now. But also, I'm working on a little project right now, which hopefully I will tell you later, but not right now. And that's it. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.